Well, very good evening to you and welcome to this week's edition of This Week in Agriculture. I'm your producer and host, Christopher Holder. On this week's presentation, we focus on the activities of Agriculture Minister ZULFIKAR Mustafa. And of course, it has been another great week for agriculture. We see developments occurring across the board. He has had many interactions with the stakeholders, farmers and others involved in the agriculture sector. We see the folks from Arcadia travel down to Regent Street to meet with the Agriculture Minister to have some of the issues affecting them addressed. Of course, as you will hear in the reports contained in this week's edition of This Week in Agriculture, those concerns as raised by the farmers and residents of Arcadia have already begun to be addressed. We will be following up to see how those interventions have impacted the lives of those residents and farmers there in Arcadia on the east bank of the Demerara. We will also see that there were some activities at MMA, further enhancing the capabilities of that entity. And here in East Berbice, we saw that the Agriculture Minister engaged with the residents and stakeholders of Crabwood Creek and number 52 village on the quarantine. He addressed their concerns, and of course this is part of his policy of interacting firsthand with our farmers and stakeholders within the various communities across the country. The idea is to keep in touch and on top of all the issues affecting agriculture development, production and productivity of our farmers. This Week in Agriculture is produced for television by Matrix Video Productions in association with the Communications Unit, Ministry of Agriculture. We will be back after these messages. Over the last 10 years, seed treatment has been proven to be very effective in protecting rice plants from damage by early season pests such as water weevils, leaf miners, and caterpillars. This protection can last for up to 30 days. In so doing, it allows for better establishment of the rice plants and later no bare spots in the field. Seed treatment also negates the need for using harmful pesticides during the first 30 days of the crop and therefore allows the buildup of beneficial insects such as the ladybird beetle, damselflies, dragonflies, and spiders, which will later prove useful against paddy bugs at every stage of their life cycle. Seed treatment involves the application of pimpernel at 20% soluble concentrate in a spray can to germinated seed. The mix is 1 liter of pimpernel to 2.5 gallons of water to treat 10 120-pound bags of paddy. This can be done manually as seen here. The seed is spread on a level surface and the chemical applied using a spray can. It is then turned and sprayed a few times until the farmer is satisfied that he has achieved complete wetting of his seed paddy. Treated seed paddy is then covered and allowed to be incubated or pressed for the normal 36 to 48 hours. Then it is ready for sowing. It should be noted that in treating the seed, farmers applying the pesticide should wear the appropriate protective gear as seen here to protect against the harmful effects of the chemical on the skin or if inhaled.
From 2010, since I started my seed treatment, that's when I started, and I've continued. I've never stopped because I've seen the benefit of seed treatment. And I've seen increased yield, I've seen production better because it actually gives you 35 to 40 days that you don't have to go back into the field and do any kind of a pesticide control because that actually helps you. So farmers, I'm advising you and I'm giving you that advice because I've been doing this since 2010 and I'd like to see farmers benefit also from these 6 points.
Seed treatment is a critical step in the realization of higher yield. If you have not yet adopted this practice, try it this crop. A message from the GRDB, Ministry of Agriculture. Here's an important notice. Do you know that it is illegal to import, store, distribute, sell, and purchase antibiotics without a license or prescription, as the case may be? According to the Antibiotic Act of 1952, owners of livestock and other animals are not permitted to purchase and use antibiotics unless prescribed by a veterinarian. It should be noted that the misuse of antibiotics could result in the development of resistance to the very antibiotic, which in turn will pose health risks to the animal animal and to humans. The GLDA advises that farmers should not administer antibiotics to animals unless prescribed by a veterinarian. Non-compliance with this act will result in fines and imprisonment. A message from the Guyana Livestock Development Authority, Ministry of Agriculture. Farmers and the members of the public in general are being advised that tampering with drainage and irrigation structures in any way is prohibited under the Drainage and Irrigation Act. So too are practices that result in damage to access dams, such as using an inadequate length of tube to irrigate farmlands, resulting in erosion of the earthen dams. Also contrary to the Drainage and Irrigation Act is the practice of erecting structures or planting on government reserves. This will not be condoned. These reserves are to be clear at all times to provide access for the excavation of the channels. Livestock farmers should also be aware that they are liable for any damages caused by their cattle or swine to dams or reserves alongside D&I channels, as is the case when the animals cross these channels. Individuals wishing to erect bridges across D&I structures should first contact the NDIA before doing so. Those found guilty under the Act are liable to fines and imprisonment for up to 3 months. A message from the National Drainage and Irrigation Authority, Ministry of Agriculture. In light of recent flooding and the lodging of floodwaters in some communities, the Ministry of Agriculture through the GLDA is warning of the dangers lurking in stagnant floodwaters. Leptospirosis is caused by bacteria that results in severe damage to the liver, kidneys, and other organs of both animals and humans. One risk factor includes walking or playing in floodwaters, especially floodwaters that have become stagnant. Leptospirosis is transmitted through the urine of infected rodents, livestock, and pets. The leptospirobacteria can enter the body of animals and humans through drinking, through cuts in the skin, or through mucous membranes in the eyes, nose, and mouth. Symptoms of leptospirosis in both animals and humans include fever, jaundice, vomiting, diarrhea, abdominal pain, loss of appetite, weakness, stiffness, and severe muscle pain. In light of the current rainy season and widespread flooding, livestock and pet owners are advised to implement good agricultural practices and, where possible, have your animals vaccinated against this disease immediately. A message from the Guyana Livestock Development Authority, Ministry of Agriculture. To mark occupational health and safety this month, the Ministry of Agriculture, in collaboration with the Ministry of Health, hosted a health fair at the Ministry's Regent Street office. Staff and members of the public were able to benefit from a range of medical services like blood pressure testing, dental checkups, eye examinations, etc. Persons were also able to speak with a physician and obtain prescriptions for medications, some of which were available at the fair free of cost. Agriculture Minister ZULFIKAR and other heads of departments of his ministry also participated in the event. In an invited comment, Minister Mustafa urged that persons have regular visits to the doctor and to maintain healthy lifestyles.
First of all, from the Ministry of Agriculture perspective, this is very important for us. Health and wellness is very important for our employees, and when the PS asked, I concur immediately that we should have this, and I think we should try to organize this PS quarterly so that we can have all our employees check and be in a healthy position, because the Ministry of Agriculture is a very rigorous ministry where we go in different terrains and different situations, and we have to have healthy employees. But the occupational health and safety are very important for our country's population, especially its workforce. And as a government, you know for a fact that we are spending a lot of money, a lot of budgetary allocation. Large budgetary allocation is being spent on health and fitness and wellness in our country, because we recognize the importance of the population's health, and we want to ensure that we spend these allocation effectively so that our people can be healthy. And I think over the last 19 to 20 months, we have seen a drastic changes in the terms of healthcare delivery across the country. We are seeing more, as I said, more budgetary allocation are being made into this sector, and we are seeing more vigorous health standard being observed. So this is very important. I want to compliment the Ministry of Health in working partnership with the Ministry of Agriculture. And you know, the Ministry of Agriculture is a large ministry that encompasses almost 12 agencies. And we have thousands of workers. So I will ask PS in the next time, and hopefully by the end of today we can extend it to the member of the public and also to the families of employees of the Ministry of Health, so that they could come also here and have their health check, basic health check, free of cost. And I think that PS, we should work in conjunction with the Ministry of Health to organize this on a quarterly basis so that we can have regular checkup to our staff.
As Minister Mustafa indicated, this event could now be held quarterly and be open to not only staff of the ministry, but also to their immediate family members. Residents and farmers of Mauka Arcadia and the East Bank of Demerara have been assured of closer collaboration and support from the Ministry of Agriculture in the area of drainage and irrigation, and technical guidance from the various agencies of the ministry. This assurance was given by Agriculture Minister ZULFIKAR Mustafa during a visit to his office by a delegation from the community of Mauka Arcadia during the week. During the meeting, representatives raised issues about drainage and irrigation, development of farmlands and access to potable water, among other things. Minister Mustafa told the team that the ministry would execute all the works that fall within its purview, and assured that a team of technical officers from his ministry would visit the village to develop a plan of action so that those works can commence in a new week. The Agriculture Minister also indicated to the Mauka Arcadia delegation that extension officers from the ministry will work with the farmers in guiding them in improving their agronomic practices and, by extension, their production and productivity. At the end of the meeting, the team expressed gratitude at the help that had been promised and were looking forward to being able to be more productive in their agricultural pursuits. On Saturday, Agriculture Minister Mustafa led a team of technical staff and officials of the Regional Democratic Council of Region 6 to the Upper Quarantine area, where he held an outreach to residents there. The first meeting was with residents of Crabwood Creek and adjoining communities at the Crabwood Creek Primary School. At that meeting, residents brought to the attention of the minister and his team of several issues relative to drainage and irrigation and the ongoing conflicts between cattle farmers and rice farmers. In addressing those concerns, the Agriculture Minister made several on-the-spot decisions on the way forward in resolving those issues, as raised by those present. In remarks to those gathered, Minister Mustafa assured of government's continued support for the agriculture sector and all of its stakeholders.
We will be working with you all to add value to your produce. We have to move away from this primary production that we are doing. And we have to change the culture. We have to ensure that we take a little more time, we work along with the authorities, and we make our product more attractive. And we will continue to work with you all. We will continue to make the necessary investment. Last year, we have expended in the agriculture sector $22.8 billion. This year, we have already budgeted $28.5 billion to spend. But besides that, we already have a large infrastructural work going on. $596 million will be expended this year to dredge the Pomeroon River mouth. You know, Pomeroon is a very productive area too. And the farmers there, they suffer severely when we have heavy rainfall and flooding. Right? So we'll be doing that dredging this year. We'll be doing the Hope-like canals this year. We'll be looking at infrastructural work within your community. What I've instructed our NDIA officials to do, to look at a canal that can bring fresh water to the farmers in Crabwood Creek, so that you will have your own irrigation canal. So I am hoping that within a short time, we can have that canal, set up that canal for you all. So we are looking at those things. We are looking at other infrastructure. We are looking to work along with you. As I said, for us, one of the most important sectors in our country is the agriculture sector. We must see agriculture as one of the main pillars of our country's economy. One of the main pillars which our economy rests on. But as a government, we don't want one sector. We don't want the economy to rely or rest on one sector. That is why in all the sectors, construction, mining, forestry, oil and gas, agriculture, all the sectors we are putting allocation, making allocation. We are developing these sectors so that our economy can be on strong footings. We see our country was the only country in Latin America last year that had double-digit growth. This year again, the IMF predicted, and the World Bank and the CDB, that we will be one of the 4 countries in the world. And we will have the highest growth this year, 47.2%. Our economy is moving and growing. And as a government, we want the benefit to trickle down to every single person, not only a few persons. That is why every single day, we are going out, meeting with the communities, listen to their concern, try as much as possible to resolve it, try to bring relief to you. We know you are very important people. We recognize the contribution that you have been making for us as a country. You are doing the hardest work. You are involved in production, in the element, the rain, the sun. You have to go to the back dam to ensure that your land is drained, that your farm is in good shape to produce. We recognize that you are doing the hardest work. That is why we will continue to put the necessary allocation. But we must be fair also in our comments. We must not only make comments that we want to make comments and look good and say, bash everybody. Let us be very civil and see what is to be done and put it in order of priority. Crabwood Creek is one NDC area. We have 71 NDC to work with. So let us identify the issue. Let us put it in order of priority, and we will work with that. We will not come impose anything on you all. We want you, the residents and citizens of Crabwood Creek, the farmers of Crabwood Creek, to tell us, because you all are using the infrastructure that we are building. And you must know where is important and what is most necessary to be done now. And I, as Minister of Agriculture, I want to assure you that we will work with you. We will work with you because this area here is one of the most important areas in Region 6 in terms of production of crops, other crops, production of rice, production of cash crops. And we will continue to work with you. We will continue to work with you. I'll ask GMC to come back, meet with the farmers. Let us look for market who are not getting market for their produce. Let us ensure that you get your proper price for your produce. And we will continue to organize these events around the country like the farmers market. We will invite you to the investment forum where we can match capital with asset, where we can have big investors if you have large plot of lands to develop those lands. So comrades, the future for our country is bright. It depends on us what we make of it. And I am very optimistic, and I am sure that we can work together, work as one to develop our country and develop this great sector, the agriculture sector.
Among the interventions ordered by the Agriculture Minister was for a long-reach excavator to be contracted to excavate the Crabwood Creek main drainage facade that has become overgrown. Also, for a team from the GLDA to convene a meeting for cattle and rice farmers, at which all issues between the two sides will be ironed out and systems put in place to mitigate against cattle getting into rice fields and cash crop farms and causing damages. Across at number 52 Village NDC compound, Minister Mustafa first engaged with brackish water shrimp farmers, many of whom complained of persons illegally cutting channels into dams and causing serious problems for all concerned. The minister addressed these concerns.
Now I'm saying what you do, right? I will send the engineer is here. We'll look to see how we will take a machine, we'll fill the cut and reinforce it. We'll make it broader. So it will be how difficult for people to cut it with the man. Also, if you have to give us the 15 person names, approximate those to number of persons who you all feel like cutting it, we'll get to see the fence now to serve them a notice And if it's cut again, we'll get the police to deal with it.
It was proposed by one resident that engineers have a look at the entire drainage system from number 52 village all the way to number 60 so as to identify the problem areas and have those addressed urgently.
Many people here are living outside living, making an assisted living. What you have to do, I suggest, you have to send, I spoke to the engineer at City Fence at 63. During the last flood, 90% of the Kurda died because the water left stagnant in Aguba. You have to send an engineer to look at the entire area from 52 till up to 60 village. There is a swamp run across from 52 till up to 60. You may run in a little high and low area, but an average of 5 to 10 acres of land is there. 15 rad or something, 20 rad to the main is another bank where it linked to the sea. Every high tide, the people who are making living, they're cutting this thing or may not cut it. The water tide will wash away the sand. And many people here will go and do little kitchen stream fishing. So what is needed, and you get an engineer, technician, look at the area, and you make small ponds, and you get these people in farm a little group. When they farm a little group, you hand them over the place. But they have to do some development work where you install tubing. You install tubing because during the high tide, you're taking the water, and during the low tide, the water comes back. But you've got to develop the area, and everybody will benefit.
Issues relative to the timely opening and closing of cokers in the community were also raised, with Minister Mustafa promising a few changes to ensure better management of the structures. He also indicated that the Sea Defence Board, which is responsible for all things to do with sea defence structures, has indicated that provision must always be maintained for the movement of water in and out of the Sea Defence Dam. He said that a team of engineers from Sea Defence and from the NDIA would be visiting the area to map out a plan of action not only for the Sea Defence Dam, but also for all internal drainage structures.
The Sea Defence engineers recommending that we still have to have an opening there for water to enter in and out. Right?
Go back yourself.
So they will look at all that. They will look at all those possibilities. You are getting mixed reaction here because some people are saying that they want to over the house area. So all that they will take into consideration. So, listen, we got to do this thing in a technical way too. Right? So these people will visit within a week. During the course of next week, you'll be going there. And please, you all inform the fishermen and the people who are fishing there that can go too. Yes. Right? So you all, by next week, they will be visiting that area to work there. Right? So we clear that issue. Now the sluice that they come and the garden and the water, the NDC will change the operator. I am suggesting that they give the big sluice operator to operate that sluice. If you are paying a rainy time and the sluice are open, you have to continue to pay the operators. Right? Because they will be responsible. Tomorrow, what I will do, I will boost up your drainage at 52 here. I will send another pump. And that pump will be stationed here so that it will help boost the system in draining the water. If you look at the advisory that we put out, we said that the rainfall will start shortly, where the rain period is here again. Right? We got to clear up all the areas that are black, especially the internal drains. The internal drain got to clear up, and the garbage that you are dumping in the drain got to stop. Right? We are trying to put system in place, as the engineer rightly said, we will start again to excavate the channel there. Tomorrow you will have another machine coming to excavate the channel to make it more efficient. So all those systems will be in place in another 48 hours at 52, 51 area here, so you'll have better drainage. Right? So let me hear the other issues.
Residents also took the opportunity to raise issues relative to the functioning of the local NDC, claiming that there is need for the council to be more proactive in addressing the issues of the community, especially as it relates to the maintenance of dams and streets there. Earlier Saturday, the Agriculture Minister had stopped in at Yakosari, Blackbush Boulder, where he handed over some $3 million worth of fencing materials to the members of the Yakosari Cattle Association. Prior to yesterday's engagement, the farmers had met with Minister Mustafa and a team from the GLDA and had requested assistance with fencing material for their cattle pastures. They had outlined issues and conflicts they have been having when their cattle entered rice fields and cash crop farms, causing damage. In handing over the fencing material yesterday, the Agriculture Minister reiterated the government's commitment to the development of the local livestock sector and to supporting all farmers within the subsector. Here's an important notice. Do you know that it is illegal to import, store, distribute, sell, and purchase antibiotics without a license or prescription, as the case may be? According to the Antibiotic Act of 1952, owners of livestock and other animals are not permitted to purchase and use antibiotics unless prescribed by a veterinarian. It should be noted that the misuse of antibiotics could result in the development of resistance to the very antibiotic, which in turn will pose health risks to the animal and to humans. The GLDA advises that farmers should not administer antibiotics to animals unless prescribed by a veterinarian. Non-compliance with this act will result in fines and imprisonment. A message from the Guyana Livestock Development Authority, Ministry of Agriculture. Farmers and the members of the public in general are being advised that tampering with drainage and irrigation structures in any way is prohibited under the Drainage and Irrigation Act. So too are practices that result in damage to access dams, such as using an inadequate length of tube to irrigate farmlands, resulting in erosion of the earthen dams. Also contrary to the Drainage and Irrigation Act is the practice of erecting structures or planting on government reserves. This will not be condoned. These reserves are to be clear at all times to provide access for the excavation of the channels. Livestock farmers should also be aware that they are liable for any damages caused by their cattle or swine to dams or reserves alongside D&I channels, as is the case when the animals cross these channels. Individuals wishing to erect bridges across D&I structures should first contact the NDIA before doing so. Those found guilty under the Act are liable to fines and imprisonment for up to 3 months. A message from the National Drainage and Irrigation Authority, Ministry of Agriculture. In light of recent flooding and the lodging of floodwaters in some communities, the Ministry of Agriculture through the GLDA is warning of the dangers lurking in stagnant floodwaters. Leptospirosis is caused by bacteria that results in severe damage to the liver, kidneys, and other organs of both animals and humans. One risk factor includes walking or playing in floodwaters, especially floodwaters that have become stagnant. Leptospirosis is transmitted through the urine of infected rodents, livestock, and pets. The leptospira bacteria can enter the body of animals and humans through drinking, through cuts in the skin, or through mucous membranes in the eyes, nose, and mouth. Symptoms of leptospirosis in both animals and humans include fever, jaundice, vomiting, diarrhea, abdominal pain, loss of appetite, weakness, stiffness, and severe muscle pain. In light of the current rainy season and widespread flooding, livestock and pet owners are advised to implement good agricultural practices and, where possible, have your animals vaccinated against this disease immediately. A message from the Guyana Livestock Development Authority, Ministry of Agriculture. Well, that's all the time we have on this week's edition of This Week in Agriculture. It has been a pleasure bringing this program to you, as always. We certainly hope that you're all set for getting your kids back to school tomorrow. School resumes from the Easter break, and I'm sure you all had a wonderful Easter holiday. The kids, of course, leading that charge. For those of you, the adults who are out for the first time this Easter, after 2 years of being indoors, I certainly hope that you've enjoyed every moment of it. Now it's back to work. I'm Christopher Holder, on behalf of the entire production team, saying so long. Until next time, be good to yourselves and to each other.